As far as what we are hearing, the National Guard, first of all, it's illegal, unconstitutional, it's dangerous, it's wrong. This is not about deportation. This is not about safety for this president. This is about authoritarianism. It's about stoking fear. It's about breaking the Constitution that would give him that much more control over our American cities.
Federal lawyers that if, in fact, they brought those National Guard and put them on the streets, that would be a really bad idea because there may be a ruling against them in just a couple of days. And I might add that if they do deploy them to the streets and then they are ruled against, I mean, how embarrassing to have to turn tail and run back to Texas 2 days after you've arrived in Chicago.
Today, notable not just for the growing clash of rhetoric, but of troops actually appearing on the ground. The Texas National Guard has arrived in Chicago. The Chicago Tribune reports that its journalists, quote, saw several military members dressed in camouflage and carrying long guns on federal property in the far southwest suburbs Tuesday morning. Soldiers who had T patches on their arms, identical to the one shown in a picture tweeted by Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Monday, could be seen walking in and out of mobile sleeping units on the site, end quote. The presence of these out-of-state troops comes as a judge declined to immediately respond to a lawsuit filed by the state of Illinois, which we covered on this program yesterday. That lawsuit said the Trump administration's efforts to send in the National Guard against the wishes of the state's governor are illegal and unconstitutional. The judge in this case, U.S. District Judge April Perry, said she needed time to go through the government's response to the suit and scheduled a hearing for Thursday, giving Trump and his allies a small window of time to send troops into the Windy City, an opportunity they are seizing upon. But as Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said to our colleague Rachel Maddow last night, taking this step could be risky before the judge officially ruled. Me up to date since we talked exactly 24 hours ago of what you're seeing and reporting on the ground in Chicago.
Well, as you said, Nicole, you know, the big development of the day is that the National Guard from Texas is now here. But I think that the point that I believe everyone needs to understand and that is crucially important for us to make is the reason they're here is because the President of the United States and his allies are calling this city and Cook County and the surrounding areas essentially lawless. The situation is out of control. It requires the National Guard to put down and protect not only the federal agents here, but widespread violence across this city. That is not what I have seen in this city at all. And in fact, if they are indeed going after the worst of the worst, we, MSNBC, witnessed the exact opposite today. And I want to tell you one specific anecdotal story that we saw here in Cicero. This is the most Hispanic community in all of Illinois. 89%, almost 90% of the people who live here are Latino or Hispanic out of the 90,000 people that live here. And we showed up at this bakery literally 20 minutes today after they went after and they arrested two people. And I want to make sure I give you their names. And let's take a picture. Let's take a picture of them right now so I can show you who they are. Mario Martinez and Daniel Cabrera. This is a video of Border Patrol, there they are. Mario Martinez is on the right, Daniel Cabrera is on the left. The Border Patrol showed up here outside of this bakery. They have been patrolling this neighborhood all day, and they grabbed these guys. We can show that video again, and we've got some surveillance video from inside, that they were doing nothing other than grabbing their cup of coffee before their day of work. And they are two of multiple people who have been taken in this neighborhood today alone, not because they are the worst of the worst. I also met people, here's some surveillance video, as they chased these guys. They left their cups of coffee, as you see there, sitting down on the trash can outside of the store after Border Patrol. And it looks like they've got someone following them, actually filming there, Nicole, chase them inside this bakery. While we were here reporting on the scene, a cousin of one of the two men, Daniel, showed up to ask me, do I know where to find him? I want to show you a little bit of our conversation right now. Watch this.
They just randomly showed up. He didn't do anything wrong. They just took him forcefully. They're scaring everybody around now, so I feel like a target too, even though I'm a U.S. citizen. But
you feel like they would even arrest you?
Yeah, at this point I do.
Does your cousin have a family?
Yeah, he does. His mom, dad, everybody here, his kids.
He's got kids too?
Yeah.
And so now, what country is he from?
He's originally from Mexico, but he was making a life here for his family, and as you can, like I told you, he was about to open up a shop.
I'm really sorry again that you're going through this, and I appreciate it. And I know that you're looking for him. You still don't know where he is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find any clues, ideas, see where they took him, why they took him, and what's the whole purpose for this.
That's a question, Nicole, that people all across Chicago, but especially today in this neighborhood, are asking. Where are their loved ones? Where are their family members who have been picked up off the street? Not because they're the worst of the worst, but because they were going about their daily activities. Mario Martinez has been in the hospital for the last several months. He had a heart condition, was sick as well. He doesn't have his medication, and his wife was telling us, just like Nori Ramos, who we've introduced to people from on your show as well, not sure that he's going to get his medicine inside ICE detention and what the consequences of that will be, nor if they'll ever see him again, Nicole.
I think people watching wonder how that is possible, that someone who drove up to a bakery to get a cup of coffee is now someone that you can there credibly report his family may never see again. Say more.
Well, that's exactly right. I was at the Broadview ICE detention facility yesterday. Here was the first place I went when I got to Chicago, because it's become somewhat of a flashpoint. It's been this staging location, both for the federal agents, but also for the people that they're bringing there before they send them off to other ICE detention facilities. And I can't tell you the number of people, including people in LA, who we haven't reported about on air, who contact me regularly, almost every day, saying, I can't find my loved one in the system. Usually there's something called an A number that ICE has, and they're able to track people very specifically. But people have been moved around so quickly within this ICE detention system that people are terrified that while they might be able to make contact, and Mr. Martinez was able to contact his wife and say that he hopes that he can get his medicine from her, he doesn't know how long he's going to be detained for here in the Illinois area, if he's going to be sent to a detention center in Arizona or Louisiana or California, and how long it'll be before the Trump administration sends this gentleman to Mexico, a place he hasn't been for much of his life, and leaving the home behind of this beautiful neighborhood, this peaceful neighborhood today in the western suburbs of Chicago.
What is the predicate that they articulate beyond racial profiling?
It's such an important question as well. Governor Pritzker said to Rachel, I thought it was the most fascinating part of the interview last night, about why they are operating in the Chicago area. They are allowed to operate within 100 miles of the U.S. border by statute. But obviously, Chicago is not within 100 miles of the northern border to Canada. They are saying they are operating here because Lake Michigan is the border with Canada. And that is the excuse, according to Governor Pritzker, at least what he told Rachel last night. So they're saying they have full reign to drive around as if they are on the southwest border or in a border community on the northern border, to look for people who are undocumented in day-to-day activities. We heard what Greg Bavino said to the local reporter here in Chicago, and I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, we can look for people based on their looks, and they may not be looking like you. The reporter was white or Caucasian. That's what people here feel like, that why would the Border Patrol in tactical gear, masked up, be running around chasing people getting a cup of coffee in the most Hispanic neighborhood in the state of Illinois when things are largely peaceful here? Why would an elderly woman around the corner from here around the same time be picked up as she walked down the street? Her neighbor walked out shaking when I was talking to him, so nervous that he had seen this immigration enforcement operation take place on his peaceful residential street, where I asked him, are there murderers and rapists and criminals? Is that what's going on around here? And he said, no, absolutely not. This is a hardworking community. But the Border Patrol says they're operating within their legal right to be within 100 miles of the U.S. border, which I guess, according to Governor Pritzker, is Lake Michigan.
Let me ask you about one more story that we've covered together this week. This is the Chicago Sun-Times, which has had incredible reporting on what's happening in its city. An attorney for the woman shot by Border Patrol claims agents said, quote, do something B-word before shooting. Quote, body camera video of a Border Patrol agent involved in the shooting of a woman who was allegedly chasing agents in Brighton Park over the weekend shows an officer saying, quote, do something B-word before pulling over and shooting the woman 5 times, the woman's attorney said in federal court Monday. The video appears to contradict the government's allegation. that Marmar Martinez, 30 years old, drove toward officers before one of them opened fire on her late Saturday morning on Kedzie Avenue near 39th Street. Her attorney, Christopher Parenti, said at a detention hearing at the Dirksen Federal Courthouse. What is your understanding of who is crafting the government statements and their association with the truth at this point?
You know, we reached out to ICE and CBP about what happened here, Nicole, and it's radio silence. And you hear from them in times, I feel, as someone who tries to get answers from them regularly, when these things reach a boiling point that they're sort of forced to respond. And this one was a flashpoint that everybody saw. A woman was shot, and now this alternate telling of the story is coming out that contradicts their initial explanation of what happened. And we have seen that time and again. One thing we've also seen time and again that's consistent with that telling of the story, and obviously I can't confirm those specifics myself, is the aggressive nature of the behavior of the federal agents on the streets. And in essence, they want people to see how aggressive they're being, whether it's marching down Michigan Avenue with masks and long rifles, or coming into a community like this, driving around. I've seen from rapid response community members here.
Every disagreement feels like betrayal. Every bit of advice sounds like disrespect. He thought leadership meant dominance. He thought diplomacy was a weakness. And in the end, he left the world not fearing America, but pitying it. Allies stopped calling. Enemies stopped pretending. And Trump? He called it victory. He said America was respected again. But respect isn't built on fear, it's built on trust. And nobody trusts a man who treats every friendship like a deal and every deal like a tweet. The world didn't move on because it hated Trump. It moved on because it couldn't afford to wait for him. In the end, Trump will boast that he changed the world. And maybe, in a way, he did, just not how he imagined. He made other nations realize they could survive without America's permission. He made old allies rethink old loyalties. And he made history remember that ego can collapse empires faster than any war. The world didn't stop spinning when Trump withdrew. It started recalibrating. New centers of power emerged. New voices filled the silence he left behind. One day, when future historians write about the fall of American dominance, they'll trace it back to the man who thought the world was a mirror and never noticed when it stopped reflecting him.